You know, the one thing that I've learned from Rick and other people out there is that of all farm animals, your horse is the most arrogant. And sometimes it requires a little bit of extra love and care to make horses happy and to make horse people happy. And that makes videos like this very difficult.
Good morning, folks. Lester here. Hey, I'm coming to you from our stables. I love saying we have stables. Guys, we don't have stables. We have a couple of horse stalls that we're so blessed to offer to our horses. But we've had some problems. We've had some issues arise. I've reached out to you guys, asked for some help. And man, we have just been overloaded with ideas. But a lot of your ideas match up. And so we're going to go ahead and take your advice. And this morning, it's the weekend, we have Fidel coming over. And he's going to help me and kind of talk me through. Okay, he'll actually do it for me if I play dumb. Fidel's going to come over and we're going to work together and find a solution to a really nasty problem. Okay, so for as blessed and as thankful as we are to have met Corey and Hannah and their crew to come out and help us build these amazing stalls for our horses, there is one thing that we never thought about and that was never suggested to us: cleanup. Saved the money to have these 4 horse stalls built here under.
Okay, so let's take a look at some of his horse stalls that he's having built. And again, the time to do your research is before you invest all this money. So he's kind of going a little backwards here.
Yep, Rick was right on that one. It's true. We did go about it, what they call it, ass backwards. Yeah. We had the hay barn built first, and then adding on the stalls was an afterthought. And Rick realized that right away because it was obvious that if we wanted to do it right, we would have planned the horse stalls and all that horse stalls entails and then had the barn built around that instead of the other way around, having the big barn built and then trying to fit some stalls into it. Now, guys, I'm going to tell you right now, I've been in here this morning and I have already cleaned up. No, this is as clean as I can get it using the tools that I have. And here's the problem. There is no way for me to use spray or any kind of liquid, bleach, or anything else to really clean, to deep clean, because there's nowhere for that water to exit. So when they built the stall here, they went right along the bottom of the ground, the cement here, and they welded their framing onto it. And so now I can't get a water hose in here. So any horse pee and everything else, it just kind of stays in it. And you know, folks, you know what's going to happen come this spring and summer when our flies and our flying pests come back. Maybe chipping the concrete out? Maybe, seriously, chiseling?
Well, and that may not be, if I don't know if you can chisel out a hole and a tunnel. There may be a concrete drill bit that you could get a nice drill bit and drill down and then drill through the side. Again, that's going to be problematic. Again, we're trying to come up with a lot of fixes because it wasn't thought out or planned or whoever designed or, look, none of these problems are like new. Every horse owner or barn has been through these problems. And now you have a good pathway. That doesn't fix all this crap storing and molding underneath everywhere else, but it does give you a drain point.
Okay, so like Rick said, we have a problem, and the only solution that we can come up with is to make a way for that water to exit out of there. And so we're going to go ahead and do it with the chisel. And like Rick reminded, even though we have a way to get the water and the feces, the horse stuff out, we have to also make super sure that we also clean out around the edges to get all the other stuff that can end up molding and creating bacteria and just a really nasty place for our horses to spend any time. And we're going to somehow, I don't know if the word is chisel, but we're going to cut out the concrete and have a way we can push all of this stuff out into the grass outside. And from there, I can simply rake it up or whatever I need to do. But we have to have a way to get a water hose or a power sprayer in here. We have to be able to clean these things up a little bit. And that to us seems like the easiest solution. And so that's going to happen today. So you can see when you pull it back. That's all the flat right there goes. Okay. Good. This kind of stuff can accumulate under the mats. All right, don't judge me for this, but you can see under the mats, it still gets very, very nasty under there. So on our deep cleaning days, we're gonna have to pull the mats all the way out and power spray them down along with the stall. And so a lot of folks are going to say, why don't you just cut the mat right there above the hole and leave the mats down? But no, we don't want to do that for two reasons. Number one, I don't want the horses to put their foot into that hole. And number two, I want to pull the mats out of here and get them all the way clean. All right, folks, so this over here is what we're going to call a, well, pretty much finished product. We've got in here with the water hose. We have sprayed everything out. I want to show you, we got the mats cut. So now the only area that's not covered is along the edges over here. And I can't foresee the horses standing right along the edge anyway. What we will do twice a week, maybe more if I need to. I'll have to gauge how dirty things get using my pine shavings. But I will remove the mats at least twice a week when I come here and power spray. And I chiseled that concrete out just enough. Well, did I just say I? Fidel chiseled that concrete out just enough to where we can spray these things and the water can go right out onto the ground, yet it's not enough to where the horses can step here and twist an ankle or hurt themselves. Anyway, this is how it's going to be. So, all right. Well, that's a problem solved. Thank you, Rick, and thank you to all the other folks who contributed. All right, so the horses are in, and I am actually following Rick's advice to the T. I will leave the horses with their stalls open, so as they don't feel confined, they can come in and out whenever they're ready. They can go right back out into the pasture as soon as they're done eating. Yet, our cows are able to eat in peace. And so that's awesome. The cows can eat without being bothered. The horses can eat. And even to add to what Rick said, so you're saying, Lester, so why is Bucky's door closed? That's because Jamie is, as Rick said, doctoring. She's doing some doctoring right now.
So, and look, fair disclosure, I'm not a big stall guy. I don't think you should never use them. They're nice to have to separate a horse, to feed, maybe to doctor a horse, maybe to help a sick or old horse. But to me, stalls in general are bad for horses. Now, I don't just say that. I have reasons on why I think they're bad for horses. They create stall vices. They create cribbing where horses chew. They create wind sucking where horses wind suck and try because they get bored. They create pacing. They wear down horses' hooves. They cause problems with horse hooves because they walk in circles. It mentally stagnates a horse's mind when he's locked in a stall. So all those things are bad for horses, which are caused by stalls. It also forces a horse to stand in his urine and poop and feces, which is not good for the horse. It increases thrush. It increases bacteria. So all those things are bad for a horse.
Lift up that leg again.
A lot of folks know that Bucky's got stuck in a fence recently.
Come on, lift it up.
And he's having to have a couple of his ankles wrapped up. And he's having to have some other stuff put down his throat. So he's actually going to be in his stall, and he'll be the only one inside the stall overnight. So, just like
Pick it up.
just like it was suggested.
How many are recording so well?
That's Courtney, babe.
right? And then they'll spread it out themselves.
And then that's what Courtney said, is that you put your pine shavings in the center and then let the horse kind of decide how it, I don't know if.
Well, I guess it makes sense because like Rick said, they find a spot to use the restroom in. So maybe this is, I don't know.
No, what Rick said is that you, no matter how big your stall is, the longer you leave your horse in here, the smaller it gets. And what he means by that is, that was very smart. I should probably just put that part in here. I'll just paraphrase it. Your horse comes into a nice big stall, and all of a sudden he pees and poops over here. Your horse has too much status to stand in his own mess. So all of a sudden your horse begins to stand over here on this side of the stall. So in reality, your horse is taking a big stall and on his own cut it in half. But he stays in here longer, and then he poops or pees again. And so all of a sudden now what was half of a stall has turned into 1/4 of a stall. And so ultimately what can happen is, and this is just so big-brained thinking, your horses, guys, I don't mean this, I don't really know how to say it, Jamie, but a horse has a lot of clout, a lot of status, a horse has a huge ego. And if you take a horse with such a huge ego and you have them stand in their own feces all night, you know, or for however long you leave them in your stall, slowly that begins to kind of work on their morale and it knocks them down. And your horse can actually begin to have a lower self-esteem. And you don't want that. Horses are beautiful because of who they are and how they are. The barn was not built for stables. We built the barn to protect, some equipment, to keep our hay out of the weather, and to offer protection from the elements for the larger animals. It wasn't until we realized that the horses were not going to allow other animals in here that we said, you know what? We're going to have to move the horses to stalls so that they can allow other animals to eat.
We're not some equestrian riding center or breeding place.
Guys, we are not an equestrian riding center or breeding place. We don't have $100,000 show horses, but our horses...
We have the Isle of the Misfits here.
We are the Isle of Misfits, and I'm going to end that video with that because Jamie said it, and their ego has just dropped a notch, Jamie.